Dennis, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, mate.
You got a pretty incredibly wild story, and sounds like you've been to some pretty dark places, and it's pretty cool what you've, I guess, come of that. I wanted to start by just talking about your story, right? Like, where did it all start? What are you doing now? All that kind of thing.
Yep. So basically, how did it all start is when I was young, my parents came over from the Philippines, and back then they came in 78. I was born in 79, and it was a whole different world back then. It wasn't really multicultural, especially when you come in terms with Asians. And I grew up, first started out in Brunswick, and then I moved down to the southeast. And I guess at the time, the school I went to was all white, and I was the only Asian in there. And it's hard when you're growing up when all you see is one nationality. You don't see anything else. But when all the kids at school, they let you know that you are different. So growing up through racism, bullying, that was just the standard. And back then, that was accepted, You just had to cop it on the chin or harden up.
Yeah.
All through primary school, all through high school, all the same, but just even worse in high school. And I guess looking back, you're always isolated. And also, in terms of isolation, my parents, they spoke a different language, and they didn't teach me it. My brothers knew it because they came from the Philippines, but I didn't. So even within my own family, I'm isolated. So from primary school to high school, it was all the same. And I guess I found my calling, or I found my family, was when I started hanging around Dandenong with all the other kids that came from the same background, whether it be Vietnamese, Cambodian or Islanders. And that's where it all started.
Interesting. So yeah, I guess I really want to dive into addiction, drug abuse, and that kind of thing. So how did that lead to, I guess, kind of some of the crazy stories I know you must have around drug use, and if you're comfortable to dive into it, I guess some of the more criminal enterprises and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I guess how it all started was essentially feeling wanted, feeling part of a group. And I found that in Dandenong, through what I just said with all the other heads that were going through the same thing. It all started out as innocence, just like the kids today. First it started with the marijuana, then it led on to heroin. And how it led on to heroin was, if you think back at school, when the kids started smoking at school, back at the Oval, hey, Dennis, come for a smoke. And even though I'm not a smoker, but yet because everyone else was doing it, yeah, I'll come back for a smoke too. Then it turned into, hey, we're going to one of the boys' house for lunch. We're going to punch some bongs. Then I do that too. So by the time heroin rolled in the 90s, I was 16. So my behaviour was to just say yes. So by the time that rolled in the heroin, that's truly when my life changed.
Well, and you're saying there's potentially just, I guess you built a community around you, and then that community started doing heroin, and that basically just sucked you in. That was the norm.
That was the norm back then, especially in the 90s. Everyone was doing it.
Yeah.
It was everywhere, visual on the street, from people working in Coles to, taxi drivers, to,
That was here in Melbourne?
Here in Melbourne.
That's interesting, right? Because when I was younger and everybody started doing drugs, it was all ecstasy and then all cocaine. I'd never even heard of or met anyone who'd ever done heroin. So that would have been when I was about 18, which was about 2008, and obviously different city as well. But I do know, I have family members, I won't dive into exactly who, that were from Sydney in the 90s, and they're heroin addicts, same thing. So it must have just been rampant.
Yeah, it was the nature of the beast of that time. Like everywhere. When I mean everywhere, you could buy heroin on the streets of Springvale, Dandenong, Russell Street in the city, St Albans, Footscray, you know, all the way down to Frankston.
And has that changed now?
It's changed a lot. You don't see it in pockets. There is, you know, especially around Richmond. There is, but you know, that was the drug of that time, and now it's ice, and now it's coke. It's like everyone does coke these days.
Yeah,
like everyone.
which is wild because it's so fucking expensive. I don't understand. I don't understand. When I was like 20, I was like, I couldn't even imagine spending that kind of money on drugs. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, tell us about kind of how it started. I mean, I guess the first time you did it, and were you kind of a hooked from the start, or?
That's what they don't tell you. When you have it, it does hook you from the start.
Yeah.
No one told me that when you have heroin, you know, after a few days, your body depends on it. You know, a week, 2 weeks goes by, and you've had it every day. You go through withdrawals, and I would go through withdrawals while I was working.
How old were you?
I was 16.
Wow.
The first time I had a hit was in Dandenong. You know, first it always starts off, you know, because we're all smoking bongs at that time. You know, and then someone comes along, hey, let's chase the dragon. I go, no, I don't want to chase the dragon, heroin, whatever. I'll have snow cones, you know, sprinkle a little bit on our bongs. It's the same shit, but I was 16.
Yeah, it seems more mild, doesn't it? You're like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
As long as we're not injecting it.
Yeah, so, you know, for a week or whatever, we'll have snow cones. And that led on to, you know, chasing the dragon, getting the foil out, burning it at the bottom, chuck the rock on top and chase it. And it didn't take long, especially in that time, because, you know, we were kids. We only used to get a little bit and we used to share it, you know, but obviously, you know, we're sharing it. Our tolerance is getting bigger, you know, so then it became, I remember I was with one head in Dandy and goes, I'll chop yous out. You know, there was 3 of us. He goes, I'll chop yous out, but you have to hit it. And it was like, fuck, you know.
Why? What was the reason? Just because?
Just because it's stronger, it's better.
Yeah.
You don't have to use as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, you don't have to use as much. So bang, as soon as they hit it, never chase the dragon again.
Yeah.
You know, and that moved very fast from using it to selling it. You know, we were 16. You know, on the streets of Dandenong and Springvale. You know, selling to like jailheads. You know,
Yeah.
30 years old, older. You know, men. And we were still kids. And the thing at the time in Springvale, you'd see 30 to 40 dealers on that street.
Really?
It was fucking hectic.
Yeah. I think when I think that, I think like America, like LA and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think Australia. There's not as much of that anymore, is there? Selling on the streets and.
Nah, there is, but not to the extent it used to be. Yeah, because it was everywhere.
Yeah.
To the point where you could sell drugs in front of you wouldn't care who's walking past.
Yep.
Because majority of the street was dealers.
Yeah. Okay.
To the point where more money was made on that street than any of the shops combined.
Yeah. It's interesting you talked about like isolation and stuff. Like my addiction or, you know, drugs and alcohol abuse story is very different to yours, but it started with that isolation. I kind of felt very isolated within my own household. Sounds like it as well. And then that led me, I was quite a socially awkward and weird kid, right? And then as soon as I started drinking at 13, but I started heavily drinking at 16. And then at 18 is when I started doing ecstasy and stuff like that. But I like drinking would turn me into this social, outgoing, wild party guy that everybody liked, and it was fun, and you know, it was like, let's get loose. So like it solved that problem for me. And I told you before we started, but I could tell instantly as soon as I started, like this was going to be a fucking problem for me, like mainly alcohol. But then like, I don't know, I describe myself as almost like a V8 supercar without an off button. So once I start, I can't fucking stop, right? And like by the end of my drinking and stuff like that, like if I would go out to an event, my mind, like so much energy was just on moderation, right? The whole night I would be like, okay, just have one. And then I'm talking to somebody And I'm like focusing and I'm counting. I was like, I wonder if I can get another one in. Like my whole night was just based around like moderation. Like it would take over. And then next thing you know, I'm fucking wasted, blackout, wake up, regrets. My wife's angry at me, you know. So yeah, I just found it interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, you know, with the moderation.
Yeah.
Like as in, you know, my drug of choice was heroin and just heroin and benzos. And, you know, and it's like...
What's benzo? Is that like opium?
Oh, so benzos is benzodiazepine. So we're talking like Valium, Seropax, we're talking Xanax.
Yep.
You know, back in the day that it was called Rohypnol.
Yeah.
It had Roes. And they amplify the effect of heroin. And when you're talking about management, like moving forward in recovery, like it's still the real world. I'm in recovery, not everyone else is. And there are times when Coke, you know, comes out. Dennis, you want some? I go, no, I'm good, but thanks, brother. And I tell them
so
why.
you're in recovery and you're still going to places where Coke is coming out?
It comes up every now and then.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, because they remember the old me, you know, they adjusting to who I am now. So they still Dennis down for whatever. And it's like, because I get where they're coming from, you know, chopping me out, so to speak. But I say to them, I go, look, I do Coke with you now. I'm going to go do Coke with someone else. And then I'm going to do Coke with you, Coke with them, Coke with them. Drugs is drugs for me.
Yeah.
And I don't like coming down. So I would always have heroin. And then bang, if I have heroin, I'll be robbing cunts, you know, next week.
Yeah.
If I get hooked again. And that's why you got to have that insight, like your pattern of behaviours, and recognise them as they happen, so you can prevent things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even watch. I've never really told anybody this, but I can't even watch Coke on a movie. If I see people doing Coke, it literally makes me shudder.
Yeah.
You know, like it makes me feel so fucked up even looking at people doing Coke. Anyway, all right. So let's go back. So you're 16, start doing. So what was the reason behind selling it? It was just what you did, or you're trying to make money to fuel it, or
That was the culture.
it was the culture.
You know,
Yep.
obviously we sold, you know, marijuana first, but then that shit stinks and it takes a lot of space. And then all you got heroin, it's worth a lot more money and it's a lot smaller. And back then you could see the opportunities, you know, as a kid, you know, as a child, you know, like making money, you know, most people are at school, and when you're young, you look up to materialistic things. You look up to the heads that have got a reputation. All of that shit don't mean shit today. But when you're 16, it does, you know, because you're still trying to be part of, you know. And I guess that masculinity when you're young is very important. But it's, looking back, we just filtered it the wrong way, you know. And we all just fed off each other, became a toxic group, you know, whereas money, violence and drugs was the pinnacle, so to speak, of stature within your group.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately was all of our downfall, because, yeah, it's when you're young, that's what you look up to, but no one tells you the collateral damage that comes with it, whether it be your family, jail time, you know, your health. I mean, you ain't even thinking about health when you're 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did that lead to, man? What was the downfall? You mentioned before we started going to prison. Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah, so if we're going back, you know, from started hanging around Dandenong, you know, you know, a lot of people from other areas would come there, and that led to Springvale, you know, selling drugs, meeting all the heads from Dandenong to Springvale. By the time you get locked up, you know, as a kid, we used to go to Parkville, you know, it's the youth training centre. You're just meeting all the other heads from Footscray, you know, Sunshine. So your network's getting bigger. That isolation I talked about at home, where I couldn't speak the language and found my family within the streets, it's just getting bigger, from Dandenong to Springvale, and you meet all the other heads from other areas.
You're in a community.
You're in a community. And where do you come together? In jail. And it's not like, you know, you go to jail, hey brother, how you been? That's what it's like. Not for in every sense, but for me, and there's others out there that would feel the same. Not glorifying it, but that's the void it fills. So
I was talking to someone the other day, and there's a young guy that was in their life who just got done for selling drugs, and the judge was trying to was talking about trying to give him a reduced sentence because they're trying to get better, stuff like that. And my thoughts kind of around a 21-year-old going to prison for 3 years is there's a concern about, like, is that just a networking and training ground?
A networking event.
What do you think? Like, yeah, do you know what I mean though?
Thing.
Like, is that like, that's the concern, right?
So I get this question a lot in the DMs and the comments and the emails. My partner's getting out of jail. I want to support him, because especially when you're doing a stretch or doing a few years, you got to remember that these people that they're in with jail with, they're like their brothers in there. They're backing them all the way. When shit goes down, they're calling on their friends and their family, and that's filling that void of the isolation within addiction. So it has its purpose in there, and you feel safe. This is what they don't teach you. When you get out of jail, all that brotherhood or whatever, those connections, they're all gone. They're in jail. You're out here by yourself now, and families, like, I don't think they see that side of it, So they need to have support networks in place, whether it be boxing gym, football club. So to beat a habit, you've got to replace a habit. So all that connection gone, you've got to have a connection in place, because otherwise you're going to be isolated again. You're going to be running back to your old long-term relationship with the dope.
Yeah.
And that will fill that void, and then you're back in the circle.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat.
That was the hardest thing for me. Like, the first 30 days sober was realizing that in some ways, like, the alcohol was solving a problem, right? It was solving a void in my life. I don't know, in some ways, a lot of my drinking was linked to me not liking myself. And then the drinking and the drug use would just make me do more things so I wouldn't like myself. And it just led to this, like, self-fulfilling prophecy of me, like, dude, it was fucked. And then the hardest thing is when you get sober, there's two things. First of all, you've got to really, like, face what you've done for the last 12 years, because basically I was lying to myself the whole time. And the other thing is I've got to figure out, like, what do I do with all this energy? Like, mine was, I'm very fidgety. I'm very risk tolerant, variety seeking. Like, I just go home, sit on the couch, and I need a fucking drink. I need something. So it was like figuring out how to sit with myself.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah. The big one for me was training. Training has helped a lot, right? You go home on the couch and you're all hyped up. I need something to get rid of that energy, right? So that's been huge.
Yeah, training is a good one. I use it myself because one, it's for that self-talk. Because the way I am on my reels is the way I talk to myself in training. That tone of voice. It's not when you're lifting. It's not, oh, come on, Dennis, push one more. It's like, fucking come on, mate.
Yeah.
And so I'm aware of that tone I talk to myself with.
Yeah.
And it really helps me in what I'm doing today, because half of the battle of my recovery is winning them battles in my head.
Your reels are fucking awesome, man. Like, they give me goosebumps, So, like, stuff like that's really helpful. It's especially if you're surrounded by people that aren't really, going to help you. So, So, can I ask what you went to prison for?
Yeah. So, basically, my prison time revolves around trafficking and using weapons. Like, there's been times I went to jail for backing up a mate. Mate got into shit, done the wrong thing, and then the other person retaliated. So I pulled my one out and just put one in him. And that was, when looking back, that mindset, that's the mindset we had as children, because we looked up to the older heads. And I see it playing out again and again and again on the news all the time. And I get where they're coming from, but maybe they don't understand the gravity of the situation of what they're in. Like, when you're 16, you think what's going on in your life is everything. It's not. It's just a small chapter. This chapter you should be spent time building. But with they're doing everything to fucking ruin the rest of their lives, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, what was prison like?
When it comes to rehabilitation, like I think it does nothing.
And I mean, this is what I was getting at before. Yeah.
For me, it wasn't a deterrent because it's like when you're conditioned as a child to do crime, and it's all about that brotherhood, so to speak, and you start to accept that jail is part of life, part of that world. And then because I went to Parkville, you know, youth training centre, and then I went again to Malmesbury, and then the adult system, you know, Fulham, Port Phillip, and then back to Fulham. It's like, these are people you grow up with, because it's not just jail, you grew up with them on the street. So it's like being in business, people you went to school with, you know, you're growing up with them. And like I was saying before, like I'll walk into the adult system and there'll be people there from when I was, you know, was doing juvies. And it's like, hey, you need any mee goreng noodles? You need, you know, smokes, because you could smoke back then. Blah, blah, blah. Here's an extra pair of trackies, you know, extra pair of greens. So, you know, when you're out there, it's like you're with the boys, but you're isolated because you're doing the drugs. But then when you get to jail, not everyone's clean, but, you know, like everyone's healthier.
Yeah.
You know, they're into the gym training. So you're building bonds with the heads from the street and from other areas, you know, through training. And that's why I've got, you know, I've been in jail since 2005, and I still implement training today because it gives me that nostalgia of when I was my healthiest, you know, when I didn't use drugs.
So how long were your prison stints? And you were sober at the time, and then when you came out, you got back onto heroin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my last one was 4 with the 2.
4 years?
Yeah, with 2 on the bottom. And then...
What does that mean?
Oh, so say, for example, the judge hands you 4 years and they give you 2 on the bottom. That means you do 2 years in jail, and if you're eligible for parole, you do the other 2 years.
So if you don't fuck up, is that what
if you don't
basically?
fuck up,
yeah.
you know? And then before that, it was like 6 months, you know, at Fulham. And then before that, I can't remember if it was 9 months at Malmesbury, another, I think it was 5 or 6 months in Parkville. It's over 20 years ago. But yeah, when I got out, you know, no matter what I told myself, yeah, I'm going to do the righty, I'm going to be clean. I didn't fucking do no preparation to be clean. I just did, you know, a few years. And I was still young, you know, surrounded by chaos, surrounded by conversations about doing more bizzo, you know, paybacks, you know, what money you're going to make when you get out. I didn't...
So that was all the conversation is basically...
That's it. Imagine being in law school and everyone's talking about law.
Yeah.
When you're surrounded by crims, they just talk crim shit.
Well, you are who you hang around with, without a doubt, right? So how? I mean, I guess the question that's bugging me is like, how the fuck are you here now? Like, what was the, like, if you got out and went straight back to heroin, how did you finally get clean?
I had to do my time, as in I had to go through all of that, you know, whether it be the sentences, whether it be the 9 times I went to Detox, tried, you know, but really I was just going in there.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? Like what's going to Detox? Like how does that, what does that look like practically?
Practically, so you're fucked up on drugs, basically, you want to go to a detox center. So that's a center, no, it's where you go before rehab, you know, to get clean.
And you bring yourself there?
Yeah, you bring yourself there.
So you go, I'm fucked, I need help, I'm going to go detox.
Yeah, so the stay's there between 7 to 10 days, like, and they wean you off the heroin. Back then you could just jump straight off it.
What do you mean they wean? So they give you heroin?
Oh, no, sorry. They
No,
don't give you, like, you get off heroin,
yeah,
you would go through withdrawals,
yeah.
But now they don't do that no more. You have to get on the Suboxone, which is like methadone. It's an opiate replacement, you know, a little bit of film, like a Listerine film, put it under your tongue. It's got opiates in there and a bit of an antagonist in there as well. So if you do have a hit while you're on it, you don't feel it. It blocks out the receptors. and you get down off that. And I did that since the age of 18. I've done that like 9 times. You know?
And when you're in, so what was in your head? Were you going in there to go, I got to sort my shit out, I'm going to come out sober?
Yep.
Yeah, and then so
With no plan, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So you're there for you're living there for what, 7 to 9 days?
Yeah, 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days, and then you come out and you're planned. Hey, I'm not going to do heroin anymore. Is that right?
Pretty much.
I mean, that wasn't even a joke. I'm legitimately asking.
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm laughing back because there's a lot fucking more to it
Yeah.
than just, I'm going to fucking, all these years on heroin, I'm just going to 10 days and I'm clean.
So then, but what does that look like? I mean, what does that look like when you get out? How long till you get back on heroin?
That day.
That day, okay.
That day, as in, dialed in, as in to my knowledge. I think I'm dialed in. I'm going to get off it. Oh, fucking, it's only 1 day left. And it's like, yep. Then the thoughts, that self-talk comes back in. Yep. And you're already, in your head, you're already linking everything up. Before you even get home, who are you going to score off, this and that? The old patterns of behavior and the thought process comes in. And then it's just straight muscle memory. You feel like you're on autopilot going to get it, even going against your own, not will, but going against your morals or values, still getting drawn back to it. Because essentially we ain't learned nothing about ourselves.
Do you still get that self-talk? Because look, one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast right now, and the reason I talk about it, because I do, right? Like, I talk to myself. I sometimes catch myself going, you can have a drink again. You've probably got it sorted out now. In a couple of years, you drink again. But then I catch myself doing that, and I'm like, first of all, you've got everything you want now. My business, I told you before, as my business was taking off, in the background, I was completely out of control. And there was this weird dichotomy of I'm getting everything I want, but I'm completely fucking destroying my life at the same time, right? And hands down, the main reason I quit is because I got 3 kids and I'm married, and I was going to destroy it. My number one value is be a good husband and father, and I was going to fucking destroy my family. I knew it, and that's what finally triggered me to get off. But I still find that self-talk creeps in, whereas if I logically think why the fuck would I ever drink again, right? So what is that? I guess, do you still get that self-talk, and what does that look like?
That self-talk, I had that for 25 years.
Yeah, okay.
Every time I went to Detox, just one or whatnot, and just say I'll get out of Detox, done my 10 days, I'll do that justification. I'll just have one. And then I'll tell myself, well, I've only had one. I've actually had 10 days off. I'm not physically hooked on it. But then you start to justify, if I have another one, I just won't have it on the 3rd day, because when on the 3rd day, I'm fully dialed in.
Okay.
I'll start to get the withdrawal symptoms again. So do that, have it on the 2nd day, and it's like...
And you're lying to yourself.
You're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Straight lying,
Yeah.
believing the excuses I tell myself. And then it's like, I'm fucking strong.
Yeah.
I can have that 3rd one.
Yeah. I can do it this time.
I can do it this time.
Yeah.
So I rinse and repeat that thought process 1,000,000 times, and it's only till I went to rehab, that I caught onto it, and it's like, this thought process happens all the time, and it might not even happen just with, relapsing on heroin, on other things that, I commit to, the same thought process. So that's what I work on. So in today, when it comes to recovery, I don't focus on staying clean. I focus on all these other little things that fulfill my life, whether it be my relationships, my goals, my accountability, the way I structure my days.
Yeah, I heard you speak about that in one of your posts recently, right? Forgive me if I butchered this, but it was something along the lines of someone being 10, 15 years and they still classify themselves as an addict and stuff like that. And you were like, at some point you've got to move on your life. I mean, is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah. So I know the saying is once an addict, always an addict, or, I'm a recovering addict. But for me personally, and this is just for my mindset, I do not attach myself to that label, because it feels like I'm still bringing that identity with me wherever I go. There's got to be a point where I have to cut things loose to move forward in my life. So I use that as part of my mindset as in, why would I? Because there's so addict, junkie, there's so much gravity to those words that can weigh you down, and it will have some sort of impact. And I'm all about letting go of fucking everything, so I can focus on what I have in front of me.
Yep.
I don't want to attach myself to that. I wouldn't, however you want to frame it, victim mentality.
Yep. So you went through this detox 9 times, and then you went full rehab.
Full rehab.
So, I mean, what was the motivation? Obviously, the motivation was getting off, but why this time full rehab?
Because I started to, selling heroin at, 16, 22, fucking 30s, whatever. But I worked for a good 10 years in between, after I got out of jail. But then, something happened in my life, and then it's like I went back to it. And all of a sudden I'm, selling on the streets of Richmond now. But I'm 38 now. Going to jail now looks a lot different than going to jail when I'm younger, and...
So what was the motivation behind selling? Or just more money?
More money and support my habit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because habits are expensive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work involved, to support your habit for 25 years or whatever through crime, drugs or,
Is heroin, I mean, again, another probably stupid question. Is heroin an expensive habit?
Yeah, it's an expensive habit, as in...
What are you spending on a week on heroin if you're in the throes?
In the throes? It's definitely over thousands.
What? Over a
week? Yeah.
Thousands a week?
Yeah, or at least 1,000. At least 1,000.
Fucking hell. Okay. All right.
So you're constantly doing crime.
Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
You got to make money because it's heroin doesn't last in your system for long, especially when you got a habit. I might have a hit now and I might be going through withdrawals by dinner time.
Yeah. So a regular job is not going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's how you get caught up in that cycle.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So sorry, you were saying, so I was asking, what was the motivation of going actually to rehab? You were saying you went back to selling at 38?
Yeah, and going to jail, I might get out and I'll be fucking old, and it's like...
So there was a realization that, this is fucking risky.
I no longer have my youth.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be a pensioner, relying on the government to get food. If I don't go full tilt now, I'm what? I got out of rehab, what? I think 40. 40 something. I'm 46 now. The average lifespan of Australian is what, 75? 45, 46, 56, 66, 76. There's like 30 more years.
Yeah.
30 more summers. That's it. And then you're done. That's if I make it there. So I might as well knuckle down now. That's why you see me the way I am on my reels. I'm full throttle. I don't use any fluff words or sentences. It's just straight to the point every single time. Every single time.
Yep.
Because, when you're given a message, it's got to hit. It's got to engage. It's got to hit the heart and give them perspective. So when they watch the reels, it's like, it ain't just a reel. They leave there with the conversation they will have with themselves later on. Yeah. And they will make the change, not me. It's the conversations that they have with themselves, that self-talk will propel them in the right direction.
So you took yourself to rehab?
Yeah, I took myself to rehab.
What do you think it ever works when somebody else takes them to rehab? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, well, I haven't met any.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it does, and I'm just speaking on my experience. And look, rehab's not going to work for everybody either. I was lucky, and I've had this conversation with people I went to rehab with. We're lucky we were there at that time because the people there were all about helping and growth. I could have went there, a month later. My experience could have been totally shit and totally different outcome, And it's also making the most of while you're there. because anyone that's been in detox or rehab knows that when you go there, you can get complacent. You forget that how fucked up your life was, and was the ultimate salvation for you to get that fairy tale ending. But people get caught up into politics, who's who in the zoo, getting into relationships, hooking up, even being there 3 days and go, nah, fuck this. You get so complacent that you forget why you're actually there for, And it's this time when I went to rehab was because I had a few friends from the area go to rehab, because Asians don't normally ask for help within my culture. We don't even speak about our problems with our family. Oh, well, I didn't anyway, because especially at the age I'm 46, my parents are a lot older from a different time where you didn't speak about shit. And going to rehab, I went there this time to learn. And I found that in business as well, or networking, people I surround myself with, no matter who they are, they love learning, because then they gain more assets and skills. And when I'm young, I guess, going to rehab, telling the therapist to get fucked, telling the therapist to get fucked. Oh, Dennis, can you vacuum? How about you bang it up your ass? Just being a real fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But I was young, and maybe it's the mindset, maybe it's the age, or maybe because I've seen the process happen over and over again through every generation, which is happening now. Maybe that's why I decided to knuckle down this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the first week of rehab like? Are you doing heroin all the way up to rehab?
All the way up to rehab. Even when I was in detox, another bit. It's a funny thing, there was a Vietnamese head in there, and I don't know this guy from Bar Soap, but maybe you probably get this with other races, but it's like you sort of like feel connected in some way.
Yep.
And goes, oh, I've got some shard. You want to have,
This is in detox.
In detox.
So he snuck it in.
Yeah, he snuck it in. Yeah. And goes, you want to have some? I go, I don't even do shard. I've only done it,
Yeah.
It's not my main thing. I've done it, but, mate, I'm in pain. I go, fucking oath, let's go. Go to the bathroom, bang, you have it.
What does detox feel like?
Everyone's at their worst.
Yeah.
People having nightmares, people complaining everywhere, walking in their robes, spilling out at each other, trying to hook up with each other.
Yeah.
Like, we go to detox to, get clean. But there's all this fucking, it's like the Big Brother house on drugs or without drugs.
Yeah.
Or even trying to stand in medication, trying to give each other drugs, Their pills, their Suboxone, their Valiums. It's, you got to navigate your way through it, because we're all at different stages of our recovery or attempt at it, So
2 years, is that the usual stint? That seems like a long time. Is that what?
Yeah, it's a long time. This program, and it's what saved me. I was probably there 12, 15 months, right? But then after that, I moved out with peers, but every week would have to go back to the rehab. So when I say, did around 2 years, that's what I'm speaking on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does rehab look like? What are you actually doing in rehab?
Rehab.
Like I said, I never went to rehab or anything like that, so I'm really curious about this sort of things.
The one I went to was known to be fucking strict, as in when I was doing my thing when I was younger, I would end up in Dandenong cells, and back then Pentridge was open. Was one of the main jails here decades ago, and we'll be sitting there like a few of the Dandenong heads, and they'll talk about Odyssey, and I was a lot younger than them, and I'd hear them talking about, "Are you going to try and go for Odyssey, or you going to go Pentridge?" And they go, "No, fuck Odyssey, I'm going to go to Pentridge," and that's so I had a big fear about going to that rehab because it was so strict.
Yeah, okay.
It was like,
well, what is it, like a military? Like you got to get up at a certain time.
Yeah, you got to get up at a certain time.
Yeah,
you got to get up at a certain time. You got to make your bed, and if it ain't made back then when I was there, if it wasn't made properly, you get called to the office, and they'd have these not punishments. Oh, I forget what you call them, But you'd have to go to the office and you go, yeah, what do you want me for? Yeah, your bed wasn't made properly.
Yeah, right.
Now-
And how do you not say fuck off?
Yeah, no, and you can't say fuck off or anything like that, because then you get more trouble. So then it's like, we're going to not reprimand you, forgive me for my words, but we're going to give you 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which means you got to do 2 hours of, you could be working in the kitchen, you know, after dinner was cooked or lunch was cooked, or, which most of us did, we had to wash the fleet of cars on a Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
And they go around, knock on your door, and you got to be where all the cars are and be doing roll call to check. And if you don't, you'll be called back to the office again and get another 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
So now you got 4 hours. And mind you, the washing of the cars doesn't go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, it's less. So you got to be doing that for a while. And I guess that's when you get that accountability too. And to the little things, all right, so I'm laughing about it now, but the little things is to slow down in the moment. It's not necessarily about making your bed, but to take your time, make sure everything's done, and giving you little things like having preparation. They just fucking get up, you know, maybe get up a bit earlier, you know. And those little things that I learnt from that is what I implement today.
Yeah, okay.
It's the fucking little things. And I'm talking about making your bed. I'm talking about the self-talk too. Oh, fucking alarm goes off. I'll just sleep in a bit more. I'll just make the bed real fucking quick. And that justification process plays out in everything I do. And it's just about catching it early. And if you get that win for the morning by making your bed, as in when I mean win, as in when you wake up, you hit the alarm, you press off, and then bang, make the bed. So bang, you're already congruent, you know, where your behavior matches your word. You said within your self-talk, you're going to make your bed, then you made your bed, bang, that's done. And then bang, I'm going to make my coffee, get in the car by this time, bang, that's done. So throughout the day, you're stacking these little wins. You develop trust within yourself because you're keeping your word with yourself. And that goes back to the reels. You know, I haven't missed one fucking day because that's the promise I have with myself. And going back to jail, your word is everything. And if I break my own word today, tomorrow, the week, my self-worth fucking dies a little with it. So it's those fucking little things, which I said before about I take care of those little things, is how I maintain my life today.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I'm the same, right? Like I get up, first thing I do is train every day, meditate, and then I write. It's interesting, yeah, about the not lying to yourself, right? Because I guess the idea there is if once you open those floodgates, you let yourself you let that mindset in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you actually? I mean, so what do you do in rehab that when you come out, you're equipped to deal with the real world? I mean, how do you actually? Is it trauma? Like dealing with trauma? Like what is it?
Well, so what this rehab specialised in, they specialised in conflict resolution. You know, basically, say me and you and 30, 100 other heads have lived together. We're sort of going to piss each other off too.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to build relationships too. And so basically would sit in a circle and would call out other people's behaviours, you know. So essentially making you aware of the impact you have around you just by the way you act, carry yourself, the way you snapped at someone, the way you said, I'll meet you here for lunch, but you didn't, you know, all those subtle things would be brought into space. All right, say I came here, right, and I was late. Would sit in a circle, you know, every couple times a week and get this little bit of paper, and it would say about the interaction, how it made you feel, and what you want moving forward. And to give you a scope, it sounds like, you know, a bit fucked, but it really makes sense. It would be like, hey, Dennis, this one's with you. This is about how you're late 15 minutes to the podcast. Then you'd go on and say, it made me feel unseen and unheard. I caught a flight from South Australia to come see her. I booked an Airbnb to come see her. And I feel disrespected that you couldn't even show up on time because we've had communication through emails, locations, time sets. What I would like moving forward to make this relationship grow is to keep your word. And then that's it. So that makes me aware that, one, I was fucking late. You know, you've put in all this work just to get here, you know, so I should have gratitude for you even for the effort. And for me not to even be on time is disrespectful. I should have organised my day, you know, a bit better. And I told you just before I got here, my fucking car broke down. And when my car broke down, I'm going, on all the fucking days, I got an hour and a half to get there. Yeah. But then there comes the whole, you know, the option of ring and say, oh, I can't make it. It wasn't even a fucking option. Just like the heroin game or the drug game. Just, I have to get it fucking done no matter what. Bang, catch an Uber. Bang, get home, get everything organised. And bang, catch an Uber here. I'll make it happen. And because if I didn't come here today and I took the other option, oh, sorry, I couldn't make it, bang, my self-worth drops. And, you know, and I'll carry the guilt of not coming. And these are the things that I've learned that's helped me in my relationships. You know, it sounds fucked, you know, sitting in a circle like, you know, there'll be 10, 20 people just going to war at each other.
Yeah.
You know, getting triggered by what they said, felt injustice, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the idea. The idea is to understand how you make people feel, you know, and it's got nothing to do with you, actually. You know, so I'm very conscious of this in all my relationships, and going to that rehab made me hyper aware, you know. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel. And when it comes to relationships or to being on time, there's all these other things you have to keep accountable within yourself. You know, the way I maintain my recovery is to be accountable, you know, doing the things and keeping the word when no one's around. So,
yeah. I find, speaking on relationships, I find naturally, like if you look at my, I guess, journey with alcoholism, and I think this is fairly common, you naturally just gravitate towards other people with the same issue, and then those good influences and people that you can actually build real relationships with, you slowly cut them out with your life because you just want to hang around with other people to get fucked up with, and they want to do the same. So you tend to just find each other. Do you still like hang around with, I mean, out of your old circles, are a lot of your old mates still on heroin? Do you still see them? What does that look like these days?
In the circle I've got now, there's maybe 10, 15. None of them on heroin now. I was actually the last one, you know.
Really?
You know, they all got their shit together, bought houses and all that.
What's the percent? Like, how many people get their shit together and how many people never came back? Because out of the people I know, like a lot of them, some of them are still just like half, you know, you can tell they've got a problem. Some of them you just go, fuck, you're never coming back, you know. So, you know, what kind of percentage of people never came back, I guess?
I reckon it'll be in the 90s.
Really?
Just from my vision, from what I see. I haven't seen many.
Okay.
You know, maybe because they've just dropped off the face of the earth and, you know, you don't see them on socials anymore.
So you're saying with that circle about, you know, all of them being sober, you've actually walked away from a lot of those.
I walked away from a lot, you know, and now it's like they don't even contact me anymore because there's no catalyst. The drugs was the catalyst that brought us all together from all whatever issues we've got throughout Melbourne. You know, the heroin in that time or generation, that's what brought everyone together. But now without it, What do we have in common besides rotting
I
together?
can totally fucking relate with alcohol. You know what I mean? Like I just gravitated with whoever, would drink the most. And then once you get sober, you go, "Fuck, do I even have any friends?" Like anybody that would be a real friend, I'm pissed off. So, I mean, how did that look when you got out of, I guess your group of friends were now the people that you went to rehab with.
Oh, nah.
No?
Actually, when I got out of rehab, there was like 20 of us, 15, 20 of us, and we were tight through rehab and when we all moved out. But slowly, one by one, they all peeled off, gone a bit their own lives. Some went back to jail, some went full-blown relapse, that's still in relapse mode now, So it got down to like, I had maybe 5 friends, but they don't all live near me. They all live in the west, live in the northern suburbs, other areas. So I became isolated, with 5. Well, yeah, we got the social media, but human interaction is fuck all. So basically, I go, I'm going to start going to NA, not for the therapy, but I know...
What's NA?
Narcotics Anonymous. So Narcotics Anonymous. And it's not for the therapy that I'd go there, but because I know my pattern of behaviours is that I need connection, whether going back to start hanging around Daniel for that connection or whatnot, or developing that connection, in the different areas, Springvale, Dandy, or in jail. I need it. So I started going to NA, and then I started to fill that void of isolation by developing new relationships. And so that's how I bypassed that vulnerability, just by being aware of it, just from what I learned in rehab. And then from there, that's when I created Run That Rehab and now built my own community.
Okay, so let's say if you were talking to, I don't know your full story, so I don't know what age. Let's say 25-year-old Dennis, right? There's somebody who's listening to this podcast right now, and then they're in the position that you were when you were 25 years old. What would you say to them? And they know they want to get out of it, but they don't know how. Everybody around them is an absolute mess, but they can feel they want change. What would you say to them?
For someone that wants change,
but they don't know what to do. Everybody they know is in it.
You need structure in place. You need a plan, because I've seen so many people, including myself, I was one of them. I wanted change, but I wasn't willing to put in the work to get it. All them times I went to Detox, did Detox, but I had no plan moving forward, the bigger picture. And I guess if you're 25, still in it, you're sort of like getting started, proper, because you're becoming, you're getting a little older, you're nearly 30, you're no longer a kid, but you're probably well in the motions of addiction, crime, and that. And if you can have the insight and just using straight logic where your life will end, because it only ends one way or a few ways. It's either you end up dead, you end up in jail, and you'll lose everything. There is no fairy tale ending, You'll hurt the people closest to you, and you'll be isolated, where the drugs will become your best friend and only friend. And that's what will keep you there. But if you're 25 and you did an audit of your circle and looked around and go, will this person make my life better, or will they make my life worse? If you can be honest with yourself, and if you're in that scene, you realise they're all making yourself worse. And you have to surround yourself, like we talked about before. It's all about the company you keep. And I understand the frustration. I get the DMs and the emails as well. And it's like, I don't know anyone that's clean. I don't know any, where to go. And I had that issue as well. Sitting in rehabs, people sounded intelligent. I couldn't even relate because I couldn't even speak like that. So what I do, and you talked about it before, or highlighted it, the law of attraction. To have the people I have around me now, I actually had to become that person to provide value, and naturally would draw together. When I was doing junkie criminal shit, that's the type of people I would attract. But during my stint in rehab, I slowly evolved and I slowly changed that when I got out, it was only healthy relationships that I would attract. Because even if toxic ones would try and gain my attention, there was no value or nothing in common. Because once you know your value, it's hard to go back. That's why you got to establish them boundaries too. Like some of my friends, they go, man, you got fucking strong boundaries. You say some shit, I'll tiptoe around. I go, nah, fucking just say it, mate. Yeah. Because then I'm the one left with the anxiety, if I don't say it. And that's my thing too. Like, you got to know the way you operate, your blueprint, So yeah, my thing is guilt. My thing is self-worth. So I do everything to protect it. And that's why I'm able to say what I say, because sometimes when I'm about to post a reel, I actually say to myself, ooh, fucking, this one's a bit, heavy, should I post it? I go, fuck it, mate. And I just press it anyway, because what I've also learned, which I also learned in rehab, the pattern of behaviors, is that when you're a drug addict or when you're doing crime, you're accepting of consequence, because there's a consequence that's going to happen, if you get caught. And when you go to jail, it's like, well, what do you expect, mate?
Yeah.
You got caught. So, and that's with everything that happens in that world. There's consequences and they come really quick when they do. And so I'm accepting of consequences. So now the consequence of me sending something is, one, you're going to get the haters. They're going to light up that comment section. But if I'm okay with the consequences and I can deal with my emotions, if I do not respond or react, then it doesn't matter, because it's not what they say, it's about how I respond. And if I've already conditioned myself and I've already built that mentality through my time from rehab and my time out from rehab, I've already had all the practice of riding my emotions all the way through these last 5 years, then I'm okay with it, because this is the real world too. Recovery ain't fucking, the way it's painted out to be. As in, you still got to deal with the real world, and there's haters, but really, in essence,
haters do you get?
How much?
What type? Like, what are they? How could they hate your message?
There's plenty.
Yeah.
Actually, at the start, I used to delete them because it used to have an impact on me. And then I go back to basics, go back to my foundation, what I learned in rehab. Regulated my emotions. And then it's like, the moment I started leaving them comments there, my platform started to grow. And then it's like, because sometimes the haters' comments are like, you're the reason why migration has a problem. We should take it at gunpoint to the airport. I'm a skin you alive in my bunker.
These just got to be just fucking maniacs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, maniacs. Yeah. Right? And then it's like, you get other ones like, I'll be finishing work, doing a reel at night, editing it, going to bed, wake up, first comment, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, fuck. But yeah, now I look back and laugh at it. And when I get other haters, like, they're always making the same comments. Oh, you do this thing, make fun of my hands. I got one ear bigger than the other. They're pointing it out, fucking Dumbo. And it's, and like, I'm sort of like laughing as well, right? I'm laughing as well. And sometimes I feel like messaging. I go, if you're going to be a hater, be a proper one, mate. Be like this guy, This one saying he's going to put me in his bunker and skin me alive.
Put some fucking effort in.
This is just like teasing, like, schoolyard shit. But you know what? It's okay, because this is what I tell myself too. Dennis, you got to get good with this, because the bigger you grow, the more you're going to get. This is just practice, and it's strengthening your resilience. So it's like, and that's the exact tone I talk to myself with, right? And so, yeah.
You mentioned before, about who you keep company with. Like the best thing that I ever did for my business was join an organization called Entrepreneurs Organization, because you're just around people who are trying to make themselves better, right? And that becomes normal. It becomes normal to try to be doing crazy shit to improve your life. What do you think 25-year-old Dennis would have said to you if someone like you went up and tried to talk him out of it?
I would have probably told him to shut the fuck up, to be honest, you know. But there are a lot of young heads that do reach out to me and they say I've changed their lives because, and the reason why is because I've been through what they've been through. You know, maybe not be the heroin, but the exact same lifestyle, just different versions of it, you know. And there is a void, you know, with help within Melbourne to help these kids because you see it on the news every day.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I think from the ages of 20 to 26, 27, about 100 fucking times, I would be staring at my phone, like looking up, am I an alcoholic? You know, trying to figure out what I can do. And then Friday comes again and I go into that same fucking cycle, right? So, you know, we spoke before about like voices from a different community aren't necessarily effective, but I think if they see someone like you who's, I guess, actually done it, I think it's helpful. So,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah. What was I going to talk about? Oh, okay. If you, it's a bit of a
26?
Well, this is a hectic question, right? And if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. You mentioned you stabbed someone.
Yeah.
Does that still play on your mind? How do you think back to that now?
I guess when it comes to stabbing someone, in that lifestyle, it has on other people's families, on that person, the trauma that they're going to go through, you know. But also, if I'm being honest, growing up in that lifestyle, I was also numb to it. It's because the moment I got stabbed, you know, when I was in Dandenong, I also got stabbed in Noble Park, you know, other places. But it's like, once you become a victim of that violence, and this is what I get when all these younger heads are doing it these days, you don't ever want to go through that again. You want to be prepared, you know, because it is a fucking jungle out there in that lifestyle. And it can be very fucking traumatic to your self-worth that someone got it over you like that, that you do carry. And in that field of that drug game, it happens every fucking day, like every day. You know, you walk down the street, yeah, such and such got stabbed, or such and such put holes in another bloke, and now that other bloke wants to get him back. And it's just constant. And I grew up from 16, you know, to the rest of my life, and that was what it was. And I just see it happening over and over again. But yeah, to the person I stabbed, it's really, you carry a lot of guilt around it, as in it's happened to me and now I've just put it onto someone else, and then who knows where their life has led next. But that's something you have to deal with internally to get that peace. You know, you have to forgive yourself, able to move forward. So that takes a lot internally, because you sort of do that on your own. You do get to speak to people about it, but essentially you have to make peace with not just that demon, but all the demons. And because if you don't, when they come back, and if you ain't got that shit under control, yeah, your life will be a living hell.
I watched on one of your reels the other day, you spoke about choosing peace over chaos, but then you also spoke about the peace feeling uncomfortable at first. What did you mean by that?
So throughout Detox, throughout my time in rehab, we spent so much time on drugs, you know, and growing up in that lifestyle I just told you about, you know, meeting other people that they come from the commission demographic, high-rise flats, high-rise flats, domestic abuse or domestic violence, and there's some traumatic stuff that, you know, happened to people I know when they were children, and the drugs and the chaos around it is the norm, so to speak, is the comfortability. So you have all that mistrust in authority figures, whether it be a therapist in rehab, a teacher, you're always firing back. You know, anyone older than
What do you
you
think
tell
that
them what
is,
to
by
do.
the way?
What's that?
What do you think that they're firing back? Is it like you don't understand what I've fucking been through type thing?
Could be in injustice. You don't know what I've been through. So what do you know, how can you say that? Blah blah blah. And I guess your survival mode is based on your lived experience, I guess. And the thing is that everyone's got different lived experience. You know, not everyone came from that trauma of, you know, child abuse or growing up very hard life when your parents are drug addicts, you know, or prostitutes or whatever, you know, a lot of jail time. Your trauma could also be you come from a rich family, you know, but your parents are too busy, you know, never there for you. So you might go into your mum's Xanax or whatever and deal with it that way. And whatever chaos you're in, that especially that drug crime lifestyle, that when you do go to a rehab or you do find that peace or you separate yourself from your old environment to a new environment, it sort of fucking feels weird, you know, whether do I deserve this, you know, how long can I maintain it? Because this reality, this is the first time you've seen it through these lenses, and sometimes you don't have that belief or self-worth that this is a reality, especially early stages. And what I didn't understand then, which I do now, is this is all part of the process. This is normal. This is normal that you're feeling this way, and it makes sense, but it does get better. But also in those moments, what I've seen is that's when people are vulnerable. Also through that honeymoon period where everything's, you know, rainbows and glitter, it's also a moment where, if you're not aware of it, can be the step before you fuck up.
Without a doubt, that was what it was for me. Like, because, yeah, again, like, I finally kind of saw with clarity the mess I was making for the last 12 years and what I'd kind of done to my life. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, but it got better to the point where it's pretty much gone away now. And I'm that far away from it. I don't want to get cocky, but I'm that far away from it that, yeah, a lot of that's gone, and I've learned to deal, I guess, with that piece.
That's it. And it's funny you say that, you know, about moving forward, because I was having a conversation with my Vietnamese mate the other day. He goes, "Hey, Dennis, you know why you're doing so well now?" And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you've got something to lose now. Back then you had nothing. All you had was drugs, a habit, and all the people you know. But now you've got a job, you know, you got your car, now you're doing this Run That Rehab, and now that's given you purpose, you know, every day to get up in the morning."
It stays now.
Yeah. Before you had nothing, and now now it will hurt more if I lost all of this and was back in jail. So yeah, just having that mindset, and even just having friends around you to speak about this shit, you know, provides value in my life, because I didn't get to where I am now by myself. It's the influence of others, and the influences of others is help mold me today.
Yeah. It's funny. What just popped into my head was like thinking back to the, like, I don't know, if you looked at my drinking and drug use for my whole time I was doing it, if you weighed up the pros and cons, like the pros list is like that and the cons list is like that, right? And I would talk myself into like, oh, but I love going out with my wife and, you know, having a couple of beers with dinner and we have this great connection. Whereas realistically, like if you looked at the evidence of how much my drinking was just like fucking up my relationship with my wife, but like I talk myself into like, I can't give this up. This is so important. This is critical in my life, you know. How much of like with the heroin, I guess, like how much would you think it's like? I guess how much do you think it's like actually physical addiction? I don't know if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it like or versus escapism? I guess.
So the initial escapism,
Yeah.
right? But because you physically depend on it, because it feels like tigers are trying to rip their way out of your veins. You got, hot and cold sweats. You go on cold turkey where, the hairs, stand up on your skin. You're burning up at the same time. You got diarrhea. You got leg cramps. You can't sleep. You'd literally kill to get it because essentially it's the fucking cure for those withdrawal symptoms. Okay. Just like if I said, this person with cancer lying in this bed, I've got this thing that lasts 6 hours. Take it. And that's how it feels. Like as soon as you feel it wear off and you feel all the pain again. So now you need to function. Now you need to get through the day. Yeah. Your mind's consumed that you have to get, that pill, that you can only get the prescription from the streets to get it. Yeah.
So what's next for Run That Rehab? What's the plan?
So the next step for Run That Rehab is to expand the network even bigger, because I'm not out here trying to build friendships, relationships, networks. I'm trying to build ecosystems, as in where it feeds itself. So networking with troubled youth, mental health, self-harm, harm minimization, because basically my skill set is always been, I've got this ability to bring people together, and that's through my relationships. My relationships stem from a cup of coffee. I can turn a cup of coffee into a network.
Fuck yeah. Dennis.
That's it.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it.
On your leave.